Hi, today I'm going to go over how to replace window sweep on an Avanti. The project that we're going to work on is my 1989 Avanti Convertible. I just got it back from the paint shop and I had already taken the sweep off and I'm going to replace it with brand new sweep. The old sweep is dried out, brittle, cracked, and really pretty worthless at this point. If you have an Avanti that is based on a GM platform like mine, the window sweep from a 1988 Chevy Monte Carlo is actual OEM sweep. It's the same thing that they used on the Avanti. If you remember the Monte Carlo, it had gargantuan doors, super long. So if you order one of those sweeps off of, just Google it on the internet and order it, the sweep is actually long enough to do the front part of the door and this quarter window. So you just cut it to make the quarter window. You wouldn't need to worry about the quarter window unless you have a convertible. The other nice thing about the GM window sweep is, although it's not original equipment, you can use it. You could use it on an older Avanti, like my 73 over there. It's not exactly the same, but it still looks good and performs the function. These are the tools you're going to want to collect for this job. There's a basic Phillips head screwdriver. There's a heavy scissor. The little tool next to the heavy scissor is an offset screwdriver for working in tight quarters. I'll show you that later. We've got a drill. I've got a Dremel. The Dremel has a diamond cutter on it. I like the diamond cutter wheel better because they last forever. They cut through everything, and they just make the regular cutting wheels seem useless on the Dremel, so I always just use those. And then you're going to need screws. Your old screws are likely to be rusty, so I just go ahead and put in new screws. It's nice if you have stainless steel screws because they don't rust and last forever. I don't have any stainless steel screws right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and use these. Before you install, you're of course going to have to remove the old window sweep. Let me show you how to do that. To get the window sweep off, unfortunately, you have to remove the door panel. I've got the door panel off this car. All of these innards were covered with plastic and tape and stuff like that. Unfortunately, all that's got to get torn off to work on these things. I don't worry about it because it's behind the door panel, but if you like things original and clean, you'd want to figure out a way to put that stuff back. I don't really feel like it matters because, as you can see, like, this is the way it was from the factory, masking tape and shrink plastic, and I don't really feel bad tearing that up. Anyway, once you have the door panel off, there's a series of screws that you have to be able to access, and those screws are in these holes that are along here, and you can't get to those screws unless you can get the window down like all the way. And in order to get the window down all the way, you need to remove these safety stops, and these safety stops keep the window from slamming into the bottom of the car when you're letting it go down. So those stops have to be removed. I'll go ahead and take those out now. With the stops out, you will be able to see that the window can go all the way down like this. And so the window, slams the bottom of the door. With the window down all the way, you can see what I mean. There's a screw, it needs to come out, and you get to the screw by putting a screwdriver through that hole of Phillips. And there's screws like that going all the way down the window sweep. For some of the screws, you're going to be able to very conveniently get to them by simply putting the Phillips head screwdriver through here and getting the screw. So like if you see up there, you know, I can get to that screw. For some of the screws, even though you've got the window down all the way, the window glass is still not low enough, and it'll be awkward and difficult to get to some of the screws. So for that, what you need is this little tool right here. It's called an offset screwdriver, and they're perfect for working in super tight quarters. I find myself needing them all the time on the Avanti. So in the case of this job, we're trying to get to that screw right there, and you can see where my screwdriver kind of rubbed on the top of the window right there, because I couldn't get to it. So, but with this, I can get to it. And it's going to be a pain in the ass, and it's going to take forever, but with this screwdriver, I'm going to be able to get that screw out. And you basically just have to, you know, go half turns and reposition it over and over and over, and it takes a long time to get the screw out, but it does do the job. This is the window sweep after it's been removed. I'm just showing this just so you can see, you know, how the old stuff looks. I took this off the car before I had it painted, but you can see it's dry, it's brittle, it's cracked. This is the brand new piece. I ordered it on the internet, and I just ordered window sweep for a 1988 Chevy Monte Carlo. I'm going to begin by measuring the new piece. I'm just going to measure it by comparing it to the old piece I took off. I've got the old piece next to the new piece here. One thing that you can see is that the old piece has a curve to it. The new piece does not have a curve yet. We're going to have to add that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an initial measurement on this just by comparing the two. I'm going to make the new ones just slightly longer to give a little room for the bend I'm going to have to make. And then I'm just going to put it on the car just to eyeball it. This is the mark I've made with tape. I'm going to take it over now and put it on the car and just make sure it makes sense. Alright, so there it is on the car, and there's how it meets up there. So I think it's actually a little long, so I'm going to move it back. I adjusted the tape, now I'm ready to cut. We're going to cut with that Dremel. When you're using the Dremel, especially since we're cutting metal, you're going to want to wear gloves and a mask, and I like to work outside, but however you do it, you don't want to get the metal dust on your fingers, and you don't want to inhale it. It really cuts up your fingers, and I'm sure it's not good for you. I'm ready to cut the sweep now. I am going to use my diamond cutting disc, and I'm going to hold the Dremel in my left hand because I don't know why they have it rotating the way it does, but the way it rotates is it shoots the dust and stuff towards you. I don't understand why it why it's set up like that. But I'm going to hold it in my left hand, and that way the dust shoots the other direction. Now that the piece is cut, I am going to use the front flat surface of the diamond cutting wheel to just smooth it out and give it a nice finish. This is what the end looks like now that I've cut it with the diamond cutting wheel and cleaned it up with the flat side of the wheel. Now let's compare our two pieces. The next thing we need to do is this piece right here is too long. The only reason that matters is because we're going to need to put a screw pretty much right in the middle where this is, so we need to trim back this pad. So we're going to do that next. To trim the pad, I'm going to use these heavy shears, and you know, basically I'm just going to cut like right there and right there. I have trimmed this middle piece out. The next thing we need to look at is this one has a curve. See how that's curved? And this one does not have a curve. I speculate that the Avanti company had a big jig or a metal brake or something to put that curve in the sweep. We don't have that, so we're gonna have to adapt a little. So what I figured out is there's a bead that runs across the bottom of that metal piece, and what we're gonna do is we're going to using the Dremel, is we're going to cut a series of slots in that bead, and by cutting those slots it's going to make that metal flexible so that we can get that curve. That metal curve that wraps around is an engineering trick which gives this part a lot of extra strength, and so we're going to have to break that bead. This is what the piece looks like now with the brakes I cut. So I cut 6 brakes, and you just want to make sure that they're deep enough that they completely break the bead. It doesn't matter exactly where they are, but you know, vaguely equidistant, and you need to break the bead. The next modification we're going to make is this section here. This section here needs trimmed out so that it fits inside the door. This is basically the outside edge of the door where the door closes, and in order for this to fit, this section needs cut out. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to eyeball this shape to here, and then I'm going to test it against the car. I marked where I want to cut with the masking tape, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut it with the diamond Dremel wheel. I notched that piece out and test fitted it on the car, and it fits perfect. To make my cut, what I did here is I eyeballed what I needed to trim and marked it with the masking tape. To do the trimming, I'm going to use the heavy shears, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip back this part gradually, just to make sure I don't cut off too much, and I'm just going to keep comparing it to the car and get it to exactly where I need. This is actually not quite right, so I'm going to go ahead and move this line back a little. So with the window down and out of the way, it's time to drill some holes. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this down as hard as I can with my left hand, and I'm going to drill holes, you know, where these access holes are, and make holes for the new piece. that's the first hole and the first screw. And what I did is I just held it down with my hand real hard and put the screw in. This is what it looks like with one screw in. You can see that that's down nice and tight. And the sweep got a little bit of shape just from me pushing on it. It bent a little into the shape of the door. But as I put in more screws, it will get better. I'm going for screw number 2 now. I'm going to put the drill right through there. It lines up nice with the sweep. And now I need to push the sweep down, and I can't do that while I'm holding the camera, so I'll be right back. Some of the screws you just can't get to over the hump of the window, even with the stops out and the window down. And for those, I just go at an angle over the top. So this screw I can't get past the window, and I'm going to do it like that. So this is what the sweep looks like now. I have most of the screws in, and the sweep is definitely taking the shape of the door. I still have a couple more screws to put in though. This is the last screw. This one fits through the hole and over the glass fine. So I'm just screwing this last screw in. This is what the complete job looks like. You know, nice and soft. It conforms to the curve of the door. This is the back piece in. When you're done screwing in the window sweep, the only thing left to do is reinstall your window stops and put the door panel on. Thanks for watching my video today. Good luck with all of your projects.